I left Sindy and went to a vegetable stall when her phone rang. She answered, and her face distorted in horror. It was a call from police about her bank debt of $100,000. Sindy started crying, saying she never had such a loan, that it was fraud, but her interlocutors didn't want to listen. They promised to come listing her property soon. And then I appeared. "Girl, have you shot bricks?" "Relax, I played a prank on you." She nearly punched me. "Come on, are you not used to my pranks still?" Cindy's resentment never lasts for long, and this is why I love her and keep on pulling her leg. We were about to go to the cashier when some guy pushed me. I wanted to make a rebuke, but swallowed my words. It was Mason, the new student from Cindy's class. I'd been bothering her for a month already, but still didn't found courage to make acquaintance. "You're not his type. He's so serious and will never get busy with an empty-headed pranker," Sindy claimed. "What do you mean, serious? All good guys are prankers in the bottom of their hearts, and you'll see it right now." I inhaled deeply and strolled toward him confidently. Damn, what to say? I didn't have a single idea. A couple of steps away, I thought out nothing better than brush my black hair over my face and grab him by the neck, like in this Ring movie. Terrified, Mason fell on a Nutella stall and broke several jars. Securities came immediately, shouting and demanding money from him, and I just ran away. I got cold feet, and he seemed not to appreciate the joke at all. I had to apologize and return the money he paid in the shop. After a sleepless night, I headed to the college. Suddenly I saw him. He was coming exactly my way with an angry face. My heart sank. I even closed my eyes. And what? Mason passed me. Damn it! Could that be? Sure, he didn't know I was the one hiding my face with the hair. That meant I still had a chance of a nice acquaintance. The next day, I was waiting for him after the lessons, and when he left college, I started going down the stairs and pretended to sleep. It looked natural. Mason was by my side immediately. I was writhing in pain. He picked me up gently and took to a bench. Now that was a good acquaintance. On the bench, we lost ourselves talking and didn't mention several hours passed. And then he walked me home and asked to meet the next day after classes. I'd spent an entire hour excitedly telling Sindy over the phone about our acquaintance. Great, he didn't recognize me. I'm on cloud 9. I was counting seconds, waiting for Mason after classes, imagining how our walk would look like. Maybe he'd even kiss me. Suddenly a guy passed by, saying I really looked like that Ring girl with the same long black hair. What? While I was trying to figure something out, a bunch of guys called me. They were laughing and pointing to their phones. The prank video went viral in TikTok. Who loaded it? Could that be? Sindy showed up and I attacked her, shouting, "Why did you share my video? It wasn't for likes. I just wanted to get acquainted. Are you jealous? Traitor!" Sindy watched me in shock and someone patted my shoulder. I turned and cried in surprise. In front of me, there was someone wearing the mask of that damned movie ghost. In a moment, I recognized Mason. Laughing, he said he recognized me right away and decided to pay back, so it was 1-1. At the same time he asked for the money he paid for the broken Nutella jars. My heart sank. I barely could move my feet on the way home, and Sindy tried to comfort me. How could he play with my feelings? I'd spent the entire next day watching romantic movies and crying, and at some point I'd decided to explain everything to him. He didn't want to talk in the college, passed me without even replying to my hello, so I went to wait for him near his home, but he didn't show up. Well, all that left was to write a note. Tomorrow, 6 p.m., the restaurant across the road, I need to explain. I came earlier and took the central table, where everyone could see me. I was worried, unsure if he'd come. It was 6:30, but Mason still hadn't shown up. Would he ignore this too? But then the doors flung open and he entered. Mason, I'm so happy to see you. I'd like to explain everything, but let's have a normal dinner first. Well, the first course must be cold by now. I slowly removed the lid from the platter, and Mason cried in horror, turned pale, and nearly dropped from his chair. The platter had a piece of meat full of worms and larvae on it. He was so scared that could not say even a word. Maybe I've gone too far with that prank. So, Mason, I've been dreaming to meet you, and in that shop, I just was myself, pranker as I am. Sure, we are not a couple, as you are a nerd, but still, it's 2-1 to my advantage. He watched me in shock, and I rose and proudly marched to the exit. Suddenly he caught up with me and hugged me close. Mason said he'd always dreamt his girlfriend had a sense of humor and offered to date him. I didn't believe my ears, and he kissed me as if confirming his words. My heart trembled happily, and Mason bent over to my ear and whispered, "Toot toot, darling," and ran away. Oh, you rascal! Stop! So do we date or not? Like the video? Give us a like and tell how you are pranked. Or maybe you are a popular pranker yourself. Write in the comments.
I opened my mailbox and froze in disbelief. There was a strange unmarked envelope. Was it a joke? I quickly opened it and froze. The letters were not written by hand, but cut out of newspapers. As soon as I read the first sentence, everything swam before my eyes. My boyfriend was kidnapped and was being held for ransom. I'd been dating Max since high school, and I loved him very much. He was sweet, charismatic, but lately, I'd only gotten annoyed at the sight of Max. The fact was that he was a TikTok blogger and constantly shot pranks. He could change into the clown from It, which I was afraid, then pour water on me, then throw the cake on my head. Even though I hated pranks, I put up with all these jokes for the sake of love. But one day, Max crossed the border. In the restaurant where we celebrated our anniversary, I lifted up a dome, but instead of food, there were cockroaches. I started screaming and slapped Max, who was shooting me on the phone, in the face. This was too much. I yelled at him and snapped. One more prank and we're breaking up. Since then, Max had been so calm. He even rarely took out his phone, although he had never looked up from TikTok before. Max was as romantic as he had been in high school again. He listened to me, complimented me, everything seemed perfect. But one day, Max just disappeared. He didn't come home from work and his phone was unavailable. Strange. I was starting to worry, so I decided to call his best friend Adam. They met in college and they always hung out together ever since. There was Max's neighbor then in their company, but they had a big quarrel with him. Adam picked up the phone almost immediately and said that he and Max hadn't spoken in days. I couldn't hide my anxiety. Where was he? I called Max's colleagues, but it turned out that he had not been at work for several days. Panic gripped me. What if he was in an accident? I had terrible thoughts, and I couldn't stand it. I had to call the police, but after listening to me, they yawned. You can file a wanted list 3 days after the disappearance. And they hung up. I was restless. What if Max was really in danger? He would have found a way to tell me if all was well. I called Adam again and stammered out a description of the situation. He tried to cheer me up and said he'd come see me soon. I barely waited for him, and when he arrived, I got in his car and we immediately went to the hospitals. I needed to find out if Max was here, but neither the first nor the fifth hospital had him. I didn't know whether to be happy or cry. Even though Adam tried to calm me down, I couldn't stop being nervous. Max, where are you? And here was the last hospital with a sinking heart. I went in and asked the receptionist if there was a guy in his 20s with dark hair, tall. The administrator thought about it and frowned, seeing that yes, there was such a guy. My heart skipped a beat. Was this Max? I walked stiffly to the room where the nurse took me. My heart was pounding in my chest. Then the nurse pulled back the curtain and I froze. There was a guy lying on the bed, mostly in a cast, but it wasn't Max. I breathed a sigh of relief. He wasn't in the hospital. We needed to keep looking. It was late in the evening when Adam and I drove up to my house. Adam, seeing my condition, volunteered to accompany me, and then I noticed that an envelope was sticking out of the mailbox. I quickly took it out. Weird. no recognizable markings. And after reading it, I didn't know what to think. Max was kidnapped and they demanded a lot of money for him, which I never had in my life. My vision blurred, my legs buckled. At the last moment, Adam caught me. He carried me into the living room, brought me some water, and covered me with a blanket. I felt a little better, but my mind was still on the letter. Who were the kidnappers? Why did they need Max? What if they came back here? I shivered, and Adam quietly asked if he should stay with me. Yes, please. I was terrified even at the thought of being left alone in the house. Adam settled down in the living room, but I couldn't sleep. It seemed that the kidnappers would break in through the window. In the middle of the night, I went to Adam, and he understood everything without words. As a result, I fell asleep on the couch, and he fell asleep on the floor next to me. I was so grateful that he didn't leave me in this situation. When I woke up, Adam was already up and making breakfast. He made a fine omelet, though I had no appetite. I didn't know what to do, and I was desperate. But Adam said we couldn't wait. We needed to call the number listed in the letter about the kidnapping and find out the details. I nodded, and Adam pulled out his phone. There were long beeps, and at that moment, I even forgot how to breathe. And then, in an afterlife voice, came from the phone. Bring $100,000 to the city park. And they hung up. We tried to redial, but no one answered. Heck, I sank down on the couch and covered my face with my hands. How could I get this amount? And Adam couldn't get. He was still in college. Then Adam patted me on the shoulder, smiling ruefully. We must not despair. 5 minutes later, we were calling all our friends and acquaintances to borrow money. And in the evening, we already had a good amount. But still not enough for the ransom. Tears welled up in my eyes from exhaustion and despair. Where could I get the money? And then Adam exhaled. I know where, but what? I didn't care anymore. I would have done anything for Max. How scared he was right now. We needed to get him out. Then Adam admitted that the work was illegal. This was a casino. He was surprised when I agreed without hesitation. And in the evening, we were at the casino. Adam was supposed to cheat, and I was supposed to help by distracting the other guests. To do this, I had to wear a revealing red dress. At first, I felt terribly awkward. I caught devouring glances at myself and was embarrassed. But at some point, Adam took my hand and squeezed it tightly. I realized that I could not be afraid of anything with him, and I began to behave much more boldly. Gradually, our winnings increased, and I was already happy. We scored the missing amount. There was not much left. And in the last game, I suddenly noticed that a fake card fell out of Adam's sleeve. God. It had been noticed. I quickly bent down to pick it up when suddenly one of the men shouted, "Fraud!" Fear gripped me as the man's thick fingers wrapped around my wrist and pulled me toward him. No, this is a misunderstanding. No one listened to me. This was the end. But suddenly Adam pushed the man away and gave him a good punch. Before I knew it, we were running out of the casino. It was the first time I had run so fast without noticing anything around me, because I could clearly hear we were being chased. At one point, Adam pulled me by the trash cans, and we crouched down. My heart was pounding. My vision blurred. But damn, that was awesome. And most importantly, we now had the missing amount. In the morning, we put all the money in a bag and went to the park. But there were no kidnappers there. I was beginning to worry when my phone rang. A strange number. Frowning, I picked up the phone, and then a voice from the dead ordered us to wait. I frowned. The voice sounded vaguely familiar. Something similar already happened when Max pranked me on the phone. It was kind of weird, but before I knew it, a black car came around the corner and stopped right in front of us. Two big men ran out of there and seeing me with a bag. One of them quickly threw me on his shoulder. It happened so fast that I didn't even have time to make a sound, and then Adam started after me. He hit the big guy who grabbed me. He staggered and let go of me, but the other one was coming at him from behind. Not again. Adam, behind you! At the last moment, he dodged and struck at the second giant. I thought the big boys were going to attack us again. They stood with their fists clenched, and I was already mentally saying goodbye to life. But then they just turned around, got in the car, and drove away. I looked around, confused. They took the bag. I sucked and buried my nose in Adam's chest. Was it all in vain? Poor Max. I was so worried about him. Adam stroked my hair and sighed. It's going to be okay. I was waiting all day for a message from the kidnappers, but it wasn't until the next morning that I received an entitled email. My mouth was dry with excitement. It was definitely them. I quickly went through the lines. They demanded another ransom. Oh my god! I scrolled down, and my stomach clenched with fear. There was bound, terrified Max on the photo. The sight of him literally tore my heart apart. I immediately dialed Adam and asked him to come over. I couldn't do this alone. While waiting for Adam, I looked at the photo for a long time because I missed Max so much. And then my eyes came across the wallpaper in the photo. I was thinking and suddenly, oh my god. This was the room on campus that Max used to live in. Although I had only been there once, I remember very well how it looked. Wait, did this former neighbor kidnap Max? Oh my god, no wonder they had been in conflict before. Max kept saying that the kid didn't like him. I immediately grabbed the phone and dialed the police. He would pay for everything. Just then, Adam drove up. I walked resolutely to his car. We need to get back to the campus. On the way, I briefly explained the situation to Adam, and he was in shock. After all, Max's neighbor, in his opinion, was always so quiet, calm. Still water runs deep. We arrived at the campus at the same time as the police, and quickly found the right room. In an instant, the cops broke down the door and burst in. My heart was pounding in my chest. I would finally see my Max. But as soon as I ran inside, I saw Max. He was perfectly healthy. He looked at the cops in surprise. And when his eyes met mine, he suddenly smiled and said, "Did I play a cold trick on you?" I took a step back in shock. It turned out that there was no kidnapping. It was a fucking prank. I closed my eyes and clenched my fists. "Stop it! I've had enough!" I shouted loudly that Max was a moron who didn't have a brain. And it was all over between us. Max wanted to run after me, but the cops stopped him and arrested him. I soon learned that he had been assigned to community service. And Adam and I got even closer. A month later, he even asked me out. And of course, I agreed. Adam, unlike Max, really cared about me. I realized that if a person loves, they will listen to you and your feelings. Did you like the video? Subscribe and like it. Support the channel. Thank you.